Okay, so I'm looking at on the face of it, the game plan from two teams. So both Man City, Chelsea played extremely high lines.
Yes.
Extremely high. In fact, just on the edge of the center circle. That's where the two high lines were. And Chelsea were willing for Manchester City to enter the middle block. So when the ball gets to the midfield or the second block, then they inject the press, try and win it off them, and then counter. Manchester City were trying to build through Chelsea, play the ball through Chelsea, and then occasionally try and find the gaps between the high line and hit a ball in behind. But what impressed me about Pep Guardiola is how he adjusted it. Now, very early on in the game, he could tell what Chelsea were trying to do. So he sort of, let me say, the last 10, 15 minutes of the first half, he stopped trying to progress the ball into the midfield to try and spring an attack. He started using his first line. So because Chelsea were not putting too much pressure on the Man City centre-backs or whoever was picking the ball up straight from the goalkeeper, they now had time to try and pick the runs in behind and then hit the long balls. Whilst the first two in the press for Chelsea, in Cole Palmer and then Nicholas Jackson, were fixated on the midfield or the middle block of Manchester City. That was smart from Pep. In the second half, what Pep did was to retreat his high line and start building from a much deeper position.
Okay.
And he went route one. He started trusting the ability, or he trusted the ability of Ederson to ping balls into Haaland. So what Rahman was saying was kind of true, but I see it like City invited that pressure. They wanted Cole, they wanted to single out Cole. So occasionally you see Haaland will pick on either one of the defenders. He'll go and pin himself on Chalobah and invite that long ball from Ederson. And that was extremely smart because what he did was to now widen the gap between the Chelsea lines. And you would see. So let's start from the first video. This is very early in the game. This is basically the entire match was being played in this space. The entire game. This is a very small box. Basically from the edge of both, the edge of the center circle on both sides. And it was cramped in this space. So Manchester City were fixated, trying to get the ball into this middle space before they could progress. So they'll get the ball into either Bernardo Silva or Gundogan and try and hit the ball into. But it just wasn't working out early on because Chelsea were just a bit too smart. So you'd see the ball go into midfield. And once it goes into midfield, Chelsea now triggered the press. They win it back. This was a good counter-attacking opportunity for Chelsea. They ended up missing. So this was...
They should have scored here, to be fair.
They should have scored. So this was Chelsea's game plan very early on. And then Manchester City switched things up. So they started now because of the lack of pressure on these guys here. These guys here. Now Pep ordered them to now go long in behind. So there was no reason to try and pick up Foden or Gundogan or Mamouche in these spaces again. Yeah. This time, they were going a bit longer because Chelsea were not applying too much pressure. So you see Kovacic watches it. He goes long, over the top. And this was how they were creating a number of their chances, especially close to the end of the first half. So I think we'll see another example here. No, this time around. This is the second half. So now in the second half, as I was saying, when they retreated their line, now we're inviting Haaland to ping either one of the centre-backs. And then you saw the runs from Mamouche and Foden who were playing inside. So when Haaland picks up the ball, when he's pinged the defenders, then they provide the supporting runs. Yeah. And it caused complete chaos. It was
almost a Drogba Lampard-ish.
Exactly. And this was the first time we have seen Pep do it. In fact, last 2 seasons, when City beat Arsenal 4-1 at the Etihad, he did exactly the same thing. Haaland became the target man. De Bruyne was like the second.
He let his hair loose. Monster Haaland.
Exactly. So Pep has done this thing before, and now we see. So it was now, as you can see, the City have now started building from a much deeper line. They've retreated to invite Chelsea and now open gaps within the middle. And these gaps,
over the top.
So if Haaland wins it, there's a lot of space for the second or third runner to have the ball to maneuver. So the ball goes back, as you see. They know that not too much pressure is going to be put on Ederson. So now he has the time and space to pick. And we all know Ederson's passing ability is absolutely brilliant. He goes long, he finds Haaland. So Haaland has put himself on one center back.
This is the third goal.
No,
okay,
this is
an instant.
And then you see the supporting run. So Mamouche is coming. You see Phil Foden arriving a bit later. So Mamouche, and look at the space they have.
Yeah.
The space they have because of the high line. They start running from a much deeper position.
Yeah.
So the target man is Haaland. He wins it, and then the supporting
runners come. To be fair, the goal was very similar to this very move.
Very, very similar.
Yeah.
So Mamouche, I think he should have passed. But this was a warning sign for Chelsea that something had changed with Manchester City's attack. I think, no.
They're the same thing, so.
6.
Yeah, there.
Yeah. So we see it again. Manchester City, ever willing to pass the ball back. And you see, look, watch this. This is a very key thing. Look at how the defender almost slows down. He could have passed it here, but he wants the Chelsea marker to approach him. Yes.
But this is this a press? Is this a press? Because what they are doing is not literally even, they're just following. There's no press.
Yeah, that's why I said Chelsea were not initiating the press for the first line.
Yeah, he was just jogging behind.
They were basically waiting for Man City to reach the middle block before they press. So they are closing down spaces. But in doing that, Manchester City are basically inviting
them to come more.
In fact, it is the exact same principle he used against Arteta 2 seasons ago, where they were literally delaying the pass to invite both Odegaard and Gabriel Jesus once they come in, and then the long ball clears them.
Yeah.
So he waits. Chelsea player approaches him. Now he hits it, and he takes the man out. Now watch. Chelsea have committed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players. There are 5 players in the offensive third. Now, there are 5 players...
Supposedly to press.
And what happens is that it leaves such a huge gap, and I'll pause it here, such a huge gap in the middle area here for Manchester City to operate. So you would see this. I think this is Foden, this is Mamouche. These are 2 free players. So Ederson could hit it into this space, allow them to turn and cause damage, or he could hit it long for Haaland, and then these 2 supporting runners come and join him.
But to be fair, how did those 2 supporting runners overtake those 2 Chelsea players in the middle that were retreating? It's also an issue of commitment and showing a bit of fight. There was a lack of awareness of the situation. Because the City players, at the time the ball was hit, were behind the Chelsea players. And by the time the goal was scored, they were beyond them.
But it's different. When Chelsea players are facing City South, and you're going this way, now you have to... And that's the thing about defenders, and that's why attackers almost always, when you start to run deep,
you
get a better...
advantage.
Yeah, because you are accelerating, you're on the run. The defender now has to check his body, turn around, and now pick it up. So you can understand why the City players are straight away, when you look at their directions...
But do you know how to correct that? Easy. One man mark him, the other one is free.
Yeah.
It's easy to
one step off. Well, the moment a player is going to go long, start backing off, reduce the yards.
And that principle is why I'm so upset with Chalobah in the third goal situation. Because once Colwell was on Haaland and was haggling with him, he had no business doubling up on him. The way he did.
I mean, he misread that for sure.
That is, and we see a similar thing here again. So ball goes to Ederson, and there are 2 areas that Ederson can pick up. So you see, this is Gundogan, Kovac is retreating, and this is all to draw their markers away and create that big space in behind them for Ederson to be able to pick out, and which he will. I remember when Ederson came to Manchester City, I'll never forget that chat. Raman told me he passes the ball better than Scott McTominay. He said it there, I didn't understand.
Do you believe it now, after so many years?
I still remember. Anytime he hit a long ball, I just remember that thing he said. But this is Ederson again. He goes long. This time, De Bruyne wins the header. And this is where I 100% agree with you, friends. This is similar to, was it 2 weeks ago, the Real Madrid-Barcelona game?
Yeah.
Haaland has pinned Colwell. There's acres of space in behind. This is where the danger is.
Yeah.
This is where the danger is. Chalobah can see the danger. This is Chalobah here. He should have the awareness as a centre-back to know that there's danger behind him.
And there's a player right behind him. He can see
right behind him. What he should do is to be making this run here. Make this run straight into this space so that if Haaland wins the ball, he can see the oncoming runner and deal with it.
To be fair, there was no danger. It was one-on-one. What's the right back's name? Marlow was on... The
right back at this point was Reece James, actually, no?
No, Malo Gusto.
No, that's Malo Gusto.
Yeah.
That's Malo.
Yeah,
So Malo had.
This is Malo Gusto.
Yeah,
But
Malo had De Bruyne.
The biggest,
Yeah, no, but he can't see.
They didn't have anybody. That's the biggest problem.
no.
The biggest problem
fact
is
that he's
awareness.
They can see though.
No, they can't. If you look at them, they are not looking anywhere. They are just fixated on Erling Haaland.
And that's the problem.
Absolutely. So it's like a case of awareness, knowing where the
big
danger
problem.
is. And for me, they didn't see the danger around them.
And
so.
all this, yeah, you know why Trev was there? Because the instruction was to man mark. So
Yeah.
if you pay attention,
Yeah.
everybody had their man there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they believed so much that Levi could take on
Haaland.
Yeah.
But that's why I said to you, that is a mistake.
But
Yeah, but again-
who was Chalobah's man?
But
Well,
again-
Chalobah was close to his man. He
He didn't
just
have
said,
anybody.
No,
he
but-
did.
but
He did.
Chalobah's
He
man
lost his
is
man.
Foden.
No, but listen
He
to
lost
the
his.
thing.
He was
If-
Foden, but he lost his
If
man.
his man is fenced, he has no business trying to come close
Yeah.
to the ball.
That's what-
If his man is, I said fence, you can't kick a ball. If his man is folding, he has no business coming to the ball at Haaland.
Yeah.
Right? Because Levi is dealing with that. Deal with your man. Get in a space where your man can't go for the pass
Exactly.
and run into a space
Exactly.
to receive the ball. It was all, poorly coordinated, and all of them fixated in stopping the big man Erling because he had just scored a goal against them and they wanted to stop him for the second time.
Yeah. Sitso, walk us through the how Pep used his fullbacks.
Right, interesting stuff. Now when you saw the way Chelsea played, right, Chelsea really lacked a lot in attack, and there's a reason for that.
Just before you go, Danica, you can delete the draw up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
For Sitso to do what he needs to do.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, when you look at what Chelsea had in the game, they barely had their wide place in the areas where Enzo Maresca would want them. And there's a reason for that. Pep Guardiola, throughout the entire game, up until the point where Dani actually illustrated that he wanted to go long, was trusting his fullbacks in the game. In this case, Vardio, and then Nunes to push so high up the pitch. Nunes is not even in the frame because he's down here somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you progress the video,
Just slide.
you see Nunes.
Yeah, that is so high.
Very high. Now, the effect of having them very high is this, that you've got Chelsea's wing players or wide players also having to drop deep. Now,
Very
the reason why you see Madueke dropping here and then Sancho dropping here is this. City's wide attacking players were Foden and Marmoush, but they were not playing as wide players.
They were not.
They were playing very narrow and very close to Erling Haaland. The reason why Haaland could set up Mahmoud for the shot and in the end set up Foden for the goal. So look at where they position themselves. This is Erling Haaland. You've got Marmoush, you've got Phil Foden. Yeah. So Marc Cucurella has had to drop infield. And you've seen
Playing
Reece
almost
James
as a centre-back, yeah.
Almost as a centre-back. You've seen Reece James also having to drop because their men that they are supposed to mark are all dropping very narrow, leaving the wide areas there for them to do. So if you want that first half, now if you progress this year.
Reece James had a nightmare, to be honest.
Yeah. So, okay,
I
so
kept telling Rahman the whole time that this is unacceptable. Vardio was literally playing like a second striker.
No, but Reece James's job wasn't necessarily Vardio because he had Mamouche to think about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That confusion was a big problem for Chelsea.
So now, if you watch this clip on Rona, keep your eye on the fullbacks again. This is Nunes and that is Vardio.
In fact, let's
Okay.
clear it.
Let's clear this one. Good. So you see Vardio here, you see Nunes here, and look where Madueke, who is supposed to be a winger, is. This is where Madueke is. Where is Sancho? That is Sancho. Where is Cucurella? That is Cucurella. Now we know that in the way Maresca wants to play, Cucurella's positioning in terms of when Chelsea receive the ball and they want to attack is crucial. Yeah. Where Reece James starts is crucial. But what City did was to deny them that presence because of how they use their fullbacks. Then if you progress this, look what unfolds here. Look at the run of Vardio, and it's Kovacic who's going to pick him up. He's making a brilliant run on the blind side of the pass. Right. So you see Vardio, I don't think this is the video where...
No. The case earlier drawing, so delete it first.
Okay,
Yeah,
let me progress this now. I think it's...
Yeah.
Now look at Vardio making a brilliant run on the blind side of all the boys there, and then he gets on the end of the pass.
Definitely should have scored and could have scored here.
Right there. And the reason why he's getting past this, Madueke here is Madueke's defensive awareness is not defending.
No.
And he's the one having to do with Vardio. Vardio makes a brilliant run around of him, and he can't find the back of the net from there. And then when you look at the goal that in the end he scores, Vardio scores. The goal that Vardio scores, yeah, I think that's the one. Now look at that again. This time around, it is who? Nunes who's making the run. The same run. This very same run that Vardio made and missed the chance.
So from
this time around.
From out in.
From this time around, it is this man Nunes, right? Who's going to make that run.
That very run.
That very
Clear
run.
instruction.
Clear instruction. And look where Vardio is. This is where Vardiol is as well. This is where Vardiol
Those
is.
are City's 2 fullbacks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Level with the striker.
Yes, and this is where Madueke is. Now, if you look at Madueke, because again, he can't defend, it's not his nature to do so.
Madueke is behind Reece James.
He, in the end, plays Vardiol, keeps him, he can't track him, he can't keep an eye on him, so he's left him to run. And that is Nunes on the attack, keeper saving it, and that is Vardiol arriving. That is City's, in the game, supposedly fullbacks, even getting higher than Erling Haaland would.
Yeah.
And it's simply because Phil Foden or Mamouche wouldn't play wide. They would play quite narrow, close to Erling Haaland, open up the space in the wide areas for the fullbacks. It caused Chelsea massive problem because when Chelsea, in the end, even recovered the ball from City, they couldn't best out as they would in other games where Cucurella would be important, Reece James or Gusto would be important. So Pep Guardiola knew how to stop Chelsea from playing when they had the ball, and he affected them big time.
Brilliant stuff. You earned your name, Sitso and Dani, better than Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville.
Oh, they're brilliant. And I just saw something also, it's worth highlighting just quite really quickly that...
You want to come to the ball?
I don't know if I could manage it, but there was a small clip.
Which
If you
of the
go
videos
back,
is it?
where Nunes just... Cucurella just pays attention to Nunes.
There.
Yeah. So you see that the instruction was clearly that if City have the ball, Nunes has to go into midfield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And Nunes is a better midfielder than a fullback.
That's the natural rule.
You understand?
Yeah.
Chelsea's instructions is that when they have the ball, Cucurella goes into midfield.
Yeah.
In midfield, he's not better than Nunes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a great overload for City at that
Interesting.
particular point in time.
Yeah.
That, for me, is where the game was won.
Brilliant.
So you see the ball that clips to, he runs through the midfield. Cucurella is a better defender than him, but in midfield, where they need to win
That's
the
a
game,
run he's used to.
Exactly.
that is...
Exactly.
Cuckoo is late.
And Cuckoo now is late.
Yeah.
And again, Chelsea's problems now, for me also, is because of Cucurella. Cucurella had a long season. If you pay attention, he played in the
might
final
be
of the
wearing out
Euros.
at the moment.
Chelsea don't have a left back. Played in the final of the Euros and
Interesting.
all those stuff. So it's quite really interesting. We could name a lot of players. Even Cole Palmer played also in the final of that Euros. Enzo Fernandez played in the final of the Copa America.
Yeah.
So Chelsea will need to start thinking that they need similar qualities as they come, especially in this second half of the season where games are closer and legs need to be fresher.
All right, fantastic, guys. Fantastic stuff.